So I appreciate you guys all logging on. And this isn't necessarily a webinar, it's a Zoom conversation, and we want to kind of keep it a conversation. So if you want to mute yourself temporarily, you're welcome to do that. And then if you want to say something, just unmute yourself, raise your hand so we can kind of see that you want to say something. We're just going to talk about the changing landscape in today's world of these getting ahead classes that are starting and some that have already been starting, and what different communities are doing to navigate the changes and support your investigators and support your getting ahead grads. And it looks different in every community, and therefore the support that they need is going to be different in every community. And we just thought we would share some ideas today and do some best practices. It doesn't have to be a long conversation, but I thought it's just something that everybody can maybe learn something from. And we'll kind of share with you what we're doing in Muskogee, Oklahoma. Hey, Jody just came on. Hey, Jody, it's good to see you. And we're just going to share information today. So in Muskogee, we had already had our classes going since January. So we had and we meet every Tuesday. We have our getting ahead classes in English and Spanish, and then we have 3 or 4 staying ahead classes that meet on that same night. We have the paid childcare and all of that. And we were 10 or 11 classes in when the pandemic started, and we decided to use Zoom for our meetings. And we were pretty unsure at first how that would work, but we knew everyone had a smartphone. And so we got on the phone with them in advance and said, download, the Zoom app, and we're going to try this because we are operating from a grant. And from that grant, we are able to pay stipends to our getting ahead graduates in the form of a Walmart gift card at the end of every month. And we wanted to be able to continue to give that because we know that's important to them. And so we did everything we could in our power to make sure they were able to still get those gift cards. And so we started doing the Zoom meetings, and I've got Sheena on here. Sheena is in her car, and I'm going to ask her to unmute herself because she's actually our success coach, our English-speaking success coach that does our Getting Ahead classes. And Sheena, would you just share with us, so far you've had 3 classes on Zoom because it's been about 3 weeks. Can you tell us what your experience has been like?
Well, it's been great. I wasn't for it at first, but everyone has been on every single week, and we love it. It's going great. It's like, I don't know, it's solution. It's awesome. I wasn't for it, like I said, but it has turned out absolutely amazing. It's like we have not missed a beat. Everyone is excited because they can see each other. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Wonderful. I think the normalcy that it brought to their world, because they already had strong friendships in the class, and being able to see each other's faces brought some normalcy to the week. We've even had some of our investigators say, I look forward to the Tuesday nights because it is a mental break for me. I'm trying to homeschool my kids, and it's stressful at home. And this is my one time I can look forward to being with my friends and my family, my Bridges family on Tuesday nights, and just be with this group, and they can share openly. I know we spent the first hour of the very first time we did Zoom just talking and processing what's going on in the world, what's going on in their world, how it feels, what they're scared of, and just kind of process together as a family and talking about the fears and just letting them communicate. And then we made sure that they were comfortable with the technology, and then we went right straight into the book, and they didn't miss a beat. They've been working through the Getting Ahead workbook perfectly, and they love it. And so far we've had an excellent experience with going to Zoom. And so I know, Stephen, what have you guys been doing in Toledo? He needs to unmute himself.
So we haven't done anything yet. I think we were always in the place where it just seemed like a horrible idea to do Getting Ahead online. And I still think obviously being together is a better option, but that's not an option right now. So we've actually, just part of the reason I was on this call is I wanted to figure out what's happening in Muskogee and what other ideas people might have, because we're going to do it. I just called one of our, we had just started a class and we were a few weeks into it, and we stopped it because we weren't meeting and everything was up in the air. And just now we're getting back to the possibility where I've started having discussions, and I think we're going to move forward with continuing it in the Zoom format. And the other thing that I have to say about it is I've been doing a bunch of other Zoom meetings. I've had Zoom for like the last 3 or 4 years, I think. And so I knew how to do certain things with it, but there was a lot that I didn't know. And I really had not done complex big meetings with it or something like Getting Ahead. So one of the things that I've been thinking about is the breakout rooms. And I've been using breakout rooms. Like, raise your hand if you've used breakout rooms in Zoom before. Okay. So it's on the basic membership. You know, I've got the cheapest one, and you can assign people into rooms for a period of time. So you can set up, you can talk about it, you know, you can go through the curriculum, for instance, or have a discussion on a topic, and then break people into like 4 groups of 3 each to discuss something or work on something together. If you've got 2 facilitators, you could break into 2 groups and have each facilitator support folks with questions as they're creating a mental model or something, and then come back into the big group and have a discussion on it and then move forward. So there's options in Zoom that really, you can do polls in Zoom as well. And I know more people are probably familiar with the polls than they are with the breakout room, but where you could have a list of poverty predators, for instance, and put that out and have the participants anonymously say which, or anonymously or not, have them say which poverty predators they've used. And then you got that data there that says, okay, then that leads the discussion. You know, 50% of participants have used XYZ. So those are some advantages. So that's what I'm looking forward to do and figure out as we move forward. But as I said, I haven't actually done it in a Getting Ahead class yet.
Well, you need to do that and let us know how it goes. Hey, Deborah, would you kind of talk about what we were talking about before we officially started today? How's it going there? Tell us where you're from.
I'm from Dayton, the Dayton District Council of St. Vincent de Paul. And I'm just going to say again, for those of you who joined late, pardon me if you see that I'm texting or distracted. I'm managing a virtual outreach center. I'm not quite sure how well this is going, but we're doing our best for neighbors in need who are seeking, you know, rent and utility assistance and that kind of thing. So I'm trying to do that while I'm on the call, but so pardon me. We have, and Jennifer Kendall, you'll see also on here today, and she's one of our Getting Ahead, well, she is our Getting Ahead coordinator. We were able to hire her for a few hours a week now, I think several months ago. So she's been helping a lot. We, as I said, we had a very interesting experience. We had just done a lot of recruiting to get a group together, and it was supposed to start just a few weeks ago, and it was the day where things were really beginning to crumble, and we knew that we needed to cancel our first session. We feared starting and then stopping and starting, and you know, momentum and all those kind of considerations. So we canceled it, thinking it would just be for a couple of weeks, and now it looks like it's going to be a bit. So I'm listening to you talk about your Zoom. Hey, Dave, would you close that door, please? Talking about your Zoom and taking some notes, that might be a good idea. But what we've done in the very short interim, not knowing where things are going to go, Jennifer has, we've set up in Flocknote, we've set up a group text where she's communicating with particularly those for whom or those whom we had recruited for that group was most recently supposed to start, because we worked so hard to get them. I'm afraid we're going to lose them. So we're texting with them regularly, and Jennifer now is working on an email group where I'm getting some emails, and perhaps you are too, about like, you know, we're in proximity to Ohio State. They're sending some things out about numbers to call for people who want some help with, you know, some budgeting or financial help, that kind of thing. So we also want to set up an email account to communicate with them. Our Moving Forward group, which is our group of monthly graduates, we're again communicating by them with text message and then also email. And then also for those who need a little personal touch throughout the week, who may need a little extra nudge toward their goals, Jennifer is reaching out to them personally. So that's what we're just doing. That's our Band-Aid right now that we're just trying to do to kind of keep the ship afloat. But the discussions of the Zoom and using that for the Getting Ahead classes, I find very interesting. So I'm interested to know a little bit more about some of your experiences. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. And yes, we're also communicating with our graduates via, we've got a closed Facebook group. We use a group app called GroupMe. We're sharing emails as they come in. They're asking questions. We're trying to do some research for them as the questions come in, like how will I know if I get a stimulus check, and just kind of providing them. But we're also saying, investigate that. Let us know what you come up with and share it with the group. And so it's not just us doing the research for them, it's making them do the research and letting us all know collectively. And that's been helpful. So is anybody else that's on the call? For those of you who haven't turned your camera on, please do. We'd love to see you. We know everybody may look a little rough, but we'd love to see you if you want to turn your camera on. Does anybody else want to share what they're doing in their community right now to support their Getting Ahead grads?
I have a question.
Okay, let's talk.
Okay. I have a class that I had just started probably about 5 weeks ago. So we were like halfway through. And then this happened. And then so it was like I kind of, didn't know. I'm not familiar with Zoom. So I've been doing a lot of educating myself on Zoom and whatnot. But my problem is that a lot of our clients do not have data on their phones. And they do not have the technology that I can Zoom with them. I had texted, and that seemed to work with a couple people, but I'm having a difficulty with this. So that's one of the reasons why I'm on this call, is to get some feedback on what my options are.
And Sheena may be able to speak to this a little bit more, but I know that we had one graduate who was driving to the mall and parking in the mall parking lot to use the Wi-Fi. And so they're problem solvers. They're getting creative. They can park in the McDonald's parking lot and use the McDonald's Wi-Fi. Sheena, is there anything else that of anyone that's doing anything like that that's creative? You'll have to unmute.
Well, I know some of them are doing it together, like going to each other's house, but it's like, I know we're in quarantine, but that's the decision. That's what they're doing. They be around each other anyway, so they got comfortable doing that. And like I heard you tell her about one lady, she had to get her data plan on her phone, and that's what she does. But that's just how bad they want it. Like Tricia said, they are problem solvers. They figure it out. I was worried about that too when it started. That's why I didn't want to do it. But I'm here to say, whatever you tell them, however you tell them they're going to do the class, they're going to figure it out. And
She said they figure it out.
And the other thing is, a lot of my people do not have email addresses, and I think you need email to do Zoom, correct?
We can email them the Zoom link, but we've been also putting it in the GroupMe and it'll go on a link that they can click on in that or in a text message, and it'll take them into the Zoom if they have the app on their phone. Yeah, so it's a steep learning curve for all of us. We are all trying to figure this out at the same time. And the great thing is Stephen seems to be an expert. So if we have questions, I would just say everybody contact Stephen.
Well,
The only thing I really cared about was that part where you go into video and it says, make my appearance better. I like that button.
I do have a question though. So I'm doing the financial literacy and the staying ahead course, and that's going well because my classes really love being able to see each other and talk and all that. But I'm starting new classes in the middle of the month for getting ahead, and these are going to be TANF recipients that have been referred to our program. We're not going to have that in-person ability to build those relationships, and I think the relationship is the major part of the program.
Right.
How am I going to be able to build that online? And it's not even something they sought out. They're kind of being referred to us.
That's going to be even more difficult, I would think. You know, and Sheena and I were talking about this. I think ours is working well because we were 10 sessions in, and they've already known each other and bonded. And part of getting to know someone is watching their body language and their nonverbals. And when you can only see your head, you don't always get your full nonverbals. You're going to have people in the class who are more shy. You're going to have people in the class who are more outspoken, and it's going to be harder to balance that than it would be, of course, in person. But can it be done? I would say absolutely it can be done. It just may take a little longer to create those bonds. And I know a lot of people do their getting ahead classes in 16 weeks. We do ours in 20. So when we would normally have had our storyboard night, where we create these giant storyboards, where we would normally have our social dinner, where we invite people from the community to come have supper with us, we're going to take up those evenings with class time now, and take up that full 20 weeks because we need it. So I just think you may need to extend the class time out longer so people can get to know each other better, and you're going to have to encourage those people who are shy to participate more in the conversation, and you may have to have side conversations with them, and because it's going to be harder for some of them to get comfortable. And that's just Treasure's opinion. Anybody?
If I may, my name's Deshauna. I'm in Houston.
Hi.
I actually am in education space. Hi. I'm actually in the education space, and so I don't actually have a getting ahead course that I lead or facilitate. But I can tell you from an educational standpoint, of course, we've had to the way
Oh, I think we lost
Shauna,
you.
you're kind of breaking up.
connect students to teachers and families and all of that. And I have to say that I am really proud of
Shauna, I think we lost you.
Can you hear me?
We cannot hear you. I think she's driving. Yep,
Hello?
we've lost her.
One
We're-
thing that I had was to do a video and to give them.
Hold on. I think, Deshauna, can you pull over and get to where maybe we can hear you safely, please? Please be safe. Kim, what were you saying?
One suggestion that I did have is that we could pre-record a video of ourselves, just introducing ourselves. But still, I think when we're not person to person, it's going to be harder to build that trust to share the information that we share. So if anybody has any tips on how to make them feel more comfortable.
I think Deshauna's still trying to communicate with us,
Yeah.
but she's frozen.
Can you hear me?
It sounds like you're a rap star. Nope, we still can't hear you.
Can I ask a question? Hello, can you hear me?
Is this Carol?
This is Sheena.
I think
Sheena, you're going to have to talk louder.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Kim, I was just wanting to ask you about the Getting Ahead class. Is it that you would have to start it now? Are you allowed?
I thought we would probably put it off until at least the quarantine or the stay-at-home wasn't out of effect, but they said I'm starting it on the 14th. So I'm actually starting 2 new classes, one on the 14th and one on the 16th. And no, 2 of them on the 14th, and they'll actually be twice a week because they're only 8 weeks long.
Wow.
I think it can be done. It's just going to be a little more challenging, but if anybody can do it, Kim can do it.
I can do it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It'll be great.
I agree with that.
Anybody
Hello?
else maybe just joined us have any ideas, or what are you doing in your communities to support your Getting Ahead grads?
Can you hear me?
Hold on.
Hey,
Wait,
hello.
She's back.
Hey, here I am.
We got you now.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So anyway, like I was saying, I'm from Houston, and of course, I don't do getting ahead. Kind of wish I did now. But anyway, I am in education, so I can say that we've become subject matter experts really quick on how to connect people, and especially to keep people engaged. And so I can say one thing that's been really helpful, especially for parents, has been Google Classroom. It seems weird, but it totally works for adults. So Google Classroom is a really good way. You can post video to it. You can post like questions, stems of the day, whatever it is that you want to do, and have people just kind of log in through that and be able to communicate. We have some teachers that do some live, and so that's how they go on with, actually it's called Google Hangout Meets or something like that, Google Meets. And so it's similar to Zoom, but it operates through, of course, the Google system. So if you have a Gmail, you already have Google Meets. You just have to download the app, and you can do it from your phone. It's really easy. And so then that's one of the ways that we have them doing their classes. And so they're able to do full-on lessons in real time. Kids can ask questions, raise their hand, use the chat box, all of that. So that might be something that would be helpful. And of course, in terms of like the Wi-Fi part, that's kind of a challenge, but there are a number of agencies. I actually sent a bunch out to my parents that are offering free computers and like 90 days worth of free internet. And so there's ways to get those things for nothing. Let's see, I'm trying to think of some other ideas that I can maybe kind of throw you all's way that I've learned, at least in my experience. So those ones in particular are good. I would say other ways of doing it, I don't really know. It's kind of a weird situation for all of us, but I mean, it's kind of like online education is nowadays anyway. Like you just have to you do have to be relatively self-driven, but if they've got a facilitator that's really in it and is really excited about it and is like, look guys, I know this is really weird for all of us, but let's try this. I think that'll be really helpful in the engagement piece. And so those are just a couple of the ideas that I have. Zoom is great, but like I heard somebody else say Zoom can be a little weird, but Google Meets is like using FaceTime on your phone. And so if you do that, even if you have an Android, you don't even actually have to have an iPhone. It turns it into an iPhone essentially for you when you use Google Meets. So that's been a way that's been really helpful, being able to have people communicate that way.
Wonderful. Thank you for those tips. I wrote all those down. We're going to try
Yeah,
those.
sure.
And, you know, the great thing, I was telling everyone before I started that I took my washing machine apart and via a YouTube video that's teaching me how to fix the agitator. So if I just wanted to learn how to do the Google Classroom, I could probably watch a YouTube video on it and make myself an expert before I started.
Yes.
So
Yes.
now I don't have my washing machine put back together yet, so I'll let you know how that goes.
This is Dee in Toledo. I just wanted as well. I mean, I just kind of go with the flow with Stephen. Wherever he tells me to go is where I go. But I'm in education as well because I do drug prevention in the schools. But if it depends on your nonprofit or your organization, some organizations do supply their staff with cell phones, just because you don't want to give everybody your phone. So I would just also suggest within ours, we actually use Verizon, but our Verizon people, I was able to buy, I mean, I think different departments bought upwards of, I think they're only around $109 at Best Buy, but we bought tablets. But what we did was we connected with our Verizon because that's our corporate company. And they actually gave us, we didn't get a discount or anything like that, but we also didn't have to sign a contract. So we're only paying up until this crisis is averted. So you can still, even if your companies are using anyone in terms of supplying cell phones for staff, they may help with some data to keep our communications open. But you don't have to sign like a year contract. But I would say just reach out to them. I'm pretty sure they gave us a discount just because we've been with them for decades. But the big thing for me when they asked me, I said my budget we can't afford a year long for 300 tablets. I can't afford to do that data. But the Verizon agreed to let us do ours up until, like, we're doing 30 days. We just don't have a long-term contract. So maybe even just reaching out to some of the companies that you guys might utilize.
That's a great idea. Thank you for bringing that up. I would have never thought of that.
Do they supply the tablets then?
No, in my budget, we were able to go on and buy the tablets because we do
Okay.
needs assessments and other things. But at the same time, I was only going to buy 9. I wasn't going to buy 300. So we ended up going half with another grant, and we're sharing our tablets, but it depending on when groups and things are running. But they our biggest piece too was, even if I could buy the tablets, I could not afford a year-long, kind of commitment to paying for that would have just been sitting. After we get back to normal, we're not using them on a regular basis, so to pay all that money. And so I just know that our fiscal people actually communicated with them and then came up with that agreement.
I was thinking when we started doing the Khan Academy, which is a free online global classroom for the children of our Getting Ahead graduates, we just put an ask in the community for anyone who had any additional tablets. When your child gets done with their first iPad and they get a new iPad for Christmas, donate the old iPad to Bridges, and those kind of things can happen. And we had an anonymous donor step up and give us 10 tablets.
That's a great idea.
And so just maybe put the ask out there and have somebody drop them in your mailbox if they don't have them anymore. We're getting creative here, but I think that's a great idea to contact Verizon, things like that, to get data on them. Wonderful. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share with what they're doing in their community to support their Getting Ahead investigators?
I don't remember the city or state, but they were outfitting buses with Wi-Fi and taking those buses out to strategic areas in the community to give access to Wi-Fi. It depends whether you're rural or urban, but just another thing to think about how you might get some Wi-Fi in different spots.
Anybody else want to share?
The only observation I might have, I'm rolling with the changes here too, in terms of communicating and by Zoom and Google and all these other different ways, and blowing up my text messages on my phone and all that kind of thing. But a lot of our younger people, they're more used to communicating like this. So this is more of a shift for me. And I've actually taught online classes and developed online classes, so I'm familiar with doing that. But it's still a shift for me because I want to be with people and be present. But my point is, it may not be as much of a shift for some of our younger people who are used to dating on apps, those kind of things that sound more foreign to me. So just an observation.
That is, you're right. And we've even had some of our younger Getting Ahead investigators help some of our older Getting Ahead investigators be more familiar with it and comfortable with it. Yeah. And we spent a long time in the very first session just trying to get everybody online and then comfortable with hitting the mute button and meeting each other's background. So like the kids would come in and we'd be like, oh, is that your 10-year-old or is that your dog? And it's really just let people into their personal lives in a good way.
Yeah.
So that's been really cool. And that can be part of that bonding process as well.
Maybe I should make sure and incorporate that with my new Getting Ahead classes, not even try to do curriculum the first night, just all about getting to know each other and
maybe come up with some get to know you games that you can do virtually versus just what you would typically normally do. And we always do our new and goods at the beginning and at the end.
We do highs and lows.
Highs and lows, appreciations at the end. We still do everything like we've always done them, just to keep things as normal as possible that they're used to in their routines. Anybody else want to share anything? Oh, we've got people chatting. I haven't even been paying attention. Hi, guys. Thanks for using the chat. Kim or Lynn or Ruth, can you kind of see? Some people are saying when they're trying to unmute themselves, they're getting a message that says they failed to detect their microphone. I don't know anything about that.
Me either, but we'll look into it.
Okay. And then Patty. Hi, Patty. Patty says sometimes we're concerned about being an expert, but struggling to learn together can also help with bonding. And just laughing about your situation. This is weird for all of us. We're learning together, definitely. Great tip.
Pat
I
and
will say this. Oh.
Do you know if you have a microphone on your computer? Would you? Oh, I'll email you in chat. Okay, go ahead, Sheena.
All right, so go ahead, Sheena, talk loud.
Am I not talking loud?
There you are. I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I was going to say about the one starting on Zoom. The people, like Treasure said, some of our people have been saying this is their 2.5 hours of peace, because a lot of these people are homeschooling right now, and they are stressed out. And this is what they were saying. So they look forward to getting on doing the class. They're looking for a reason to break away, to do something that they enjoy doing, because they're stuck at home with their kids right now, which I thought was funny, but I also thought it was cool. I mean, I remember those days. I just thank God my kids are grown now. So the ones who's going to start the class, they probably looking forward to you all starting. They're like probably excited. They don't care how you do it. They're gonna log in and do it just to be able to break away. I'm sure.
She makes a good point. You know, there's the stress level's pretty high right now in these households, and anything you can do to relieve some of that stress, and just by communicating and giving them something to look forward to. But also, I was thinking, you know, on our first night, when we have our typical night of first night of Bridges, everybody is so scared. They're nervous. They don't know what they're about to get into. They're scared to go and meet all these new people. They don't know the routine in this new building. My kids aren't going to know the child care workers. That kind of takes all that away. I can log on and do this fairly easily. It's not as scary and physically scary. So there's some pros and cons, but if we can do anything to relieve any of the stress on them, that's kind of what this is about for us too. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share about how they're communicating with their graduates and just relieving some of the pressure? Or any questions you want to ask? You got a bunch of experts in the room. Let's utilize them. You have everyone's full attention right now. So if you've got any questions, you can either, if you can't speak because your mic isn't working, you can definitely type it in.
Good morning.
Hi there.
I'm from San Bernardino, California, and I'm new to the Getting Ahead. I just became certified. Right now, we are doing Zoom calls. We haven't had any problems with that, so that's been good. But really getting into the curriculum is hard right now. They more want a place just to talk and, you know, communicate with each other. So we're kind of leaving it at that for a week or two to see where it goes. But I am interested in getting some ideas for games. I did hear a couple of you mention that. So if you can share, I would love that.
Anybody have any, are you talking about the get to know you games, things like that?
Correct.
I mean, there's a ton of them out there. I can't think of a single one right now. Have you done a class before? Is this going to be your first class?
No, so we're halfway through.
Okay.
So maybe not like getting to know you, but just some other things that I may be able to utilize during the Zoom call. I think the curriculum is just too much for them right now. So we're just letting them adapt.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Anyone have any ideas for group games or icebreakers and or just things to relieve the pressure? I'm sure we could all Google and come up with several that you don't have to be in person to do.
The thing that I always do with the getting ahead is to do, and people refer to it, it's like the highs and lows, or the, you know, sometimes people call it a rose and a thorn, but you just get this opening ritual, whatever your opening ritual is in it, where people are talking authentically about what's going on for them. You know, what's good, what's been hard, who are you, what have you been feeling, and then go into the curriculum from that, and that really works. And once and then do a similar thing at closing, where you're going around and talking about what you learned about the class. So there's other exercises you can do, I think, and that's part of yeah, I'm trying to think. I'll maybe we can get back with each other later and, or send some ideas. I think that's something I'd need to think more about in this context.
Right. I would love to have a list of games we could play virtually. If we could all share that with each other through maybe like Lynn or Ruth, I think we could all benefit from that. Just do a little bit of research. And I mean, I've got a whole file of get to know you games that are typically in person ones, but maybe they could be adapted. I just need to go through them. I hadn't thought about it like that.
Do you go through ground rules every session to set the expectation that we're doing our highs and lows, and then we'll move into
I mean, the first classes, so this is around, this would be interesting, because one of the things that I just realized, Ruth, is different about this is we put everything on a flip chart, and so at the end of the class, I mean, you've got all those mental models, and the first mental model, one of the first ones that we do is, what are the agreements? We ask people, if this were the class of your dreams, what would it need to have? And then they build it and you write it on the flip chart. So it's like respect and listening and openness and non-judgmental. And then you refer back to all those mental models. So one of the challenges, I guess that's a question that I have for Treasure in a second, is how do you keep all those mental models in people's mind's eye when you don't have a wall to put them on? And then but the other thing is, like, one of the things we do also is, like, if you're doing the theory of change, we get all these change quotes, right, about like relating to change, and we cut them up on strips of paper, and we have a quote box, which is usually like an old tin, and pass it around, and people pull out a quote. And I guess what you could do is you could put it in the chat. You could put the quotes in the chat and just have people read a quote and talk about what they feel about it. So we're adapting as we go, right? I figured that out as I was talking. But that's a thing too. Like, those are get to know you things where people have a structured activity. It's really like they're reading a quote. Another one we do when we're doing language is we send out casual register quotes. They pull out a casual register quote, and then their job is to translate it into formal, right? So those are like activities that bring people together, and they bring them back to the curriculum. And that's the perfect kind of exercise if it's really informing the curriculum as well as having them get to know each other.
And innovation, I think, is the key word here. I think we just have to figure this out as we go. And you can also do screen sharing on this. So the host or the facilitator could probably put those rules in a document and then do the screen share so everybody could see their computer screen. Of course, not the whole time, because I like seeing everyone's faces and their reactions to things. So, I mean, there's ways to do it. It's just you're going to have to get creative and use the technologies that we have, assuming that you're using Zoom or another one works like that.
One of the things that we do at the Glen, instead of the new and good every week, once we've gotten into maybe the third or fourth week, we shift to what have you done this week to get ahead and what have you done to get by. And that actually start out with get by and then get ahead, so that it actually keeps the focus of the program going. And
That's
then
great.
at the end, we ask them in the checkout what's one thing that they want to work on this week. And so that can kind of be the trigger for the next week's opening. And it kind of gets people out of this has been such a difficult week.
Right. Right. We try to stay away from all the negatives if we can, of course, if somebody needs to talk. But yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you for sharing, Catherine. It looks like in the chat, Lynn has said, send any ideas you have for games and activities to ljackson@ahaprocess.com, and she'll share them with all of us. So thanks, Lynn. Appreciate that. And Jennifer Kendall says, I think everyone can copy the charts in their own notebook at home and just refer to them. So, you know, it does help when they draw these things out and on their own as well. So we'll just have to try different things and see what works and see what doesn't. Anything else? I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss anything in the chat because I know some of you aren't being able to speak on your microphones. But
Steve, I know that Zoom has, you can do PowerPoint on Zoom. Can you do whiteboard?
Yes, but I haven't figured it out yet. I haven't explored that. So that's a good idea too. I'm getting a lot of ideas today.
Because you could even take pictures of some of that whiteboard stuff and put it in a PowerPoint and
yeah, and I've got pictures. I've taken pictures of all the mental models on the print, so a lot of those are already created, and we could just post that as well. But I like it. Also, really helps when folks draw. Treasure, how are you getting the cards, the incentive cards to people?
well, this was a funny thing with me and Sheena. So there's only 2 people, or 2.5 people that work in our office. We have a very small office, and usually one of us is there at a time during the week to catch up on things. And so Sheena, we went to Walmart, we got our gift cards, and she put them in envelopes with their names on it and sealed it and then handed it through the door like this. You know, kind of opened the door just a little bit and said, here's yours. And they came and they got theirs, and she got them all in several hours. They were all able to come up to the office and get theirs this month. It's kind of new for all of us. And so I think it worked very smoothly. That way nobody had to touch anybody.
You could designate a place, right? So if your offices are closed, you could have a designated place and time.
Absolutely, you could. You got to get innovative here as well.
Yeah.
Are you distributing your incentives monthly? Did you say?
We do at the end of the month. So and we get $25 per class, and so it's, you know, maybe a $100 gift card. But if there's an extra Tuesday, $125 gift card to Walmart.
Okay.
Yes. All right.
Treasure, have you guys ever tried, I don't know if you have or if anyone has, doing the e-gift cards as well? Has anyone ever done that?
We did one yesterday, our first one.
Who was that?
Him. So we have Walmart cards. We have other cards too, but we couldn't. One lady is pregnant, and so we just delivered things to her door because we give care every week at each school. We do 2 schools. We do hot food on their school night. Since they're not able to come to have their meal, we still get their meal together, take it to the school, and they just do a drive-through. We just hand it.
Okay.
Along with their gift card. But one lady, I try to deliver everything, but we just emailed her gift card to her, and it worked perfect.
Yeah, because we were looking at that too here. Not necessarily, I mean, just for everything that we're doing, but I actually just never realized that you can use it in store. I mean, when the stores are open, I actually didn't know you could use an e-card actually in a store as well. So that was good to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we just emailed it to her, and she was able to use it that way.
Wonderful. That's a great tip. Thank you, Dee and Kim. Appreciate that. Any other ideas you'd like to share on how to make our lives a little easier and or how we're supporting our graduates in this time? I've gotten some excellent ideas on my notepad here. This has been wonderful.
I put it in chat, but I did a Zoom conference PD thing with the NGPF that I use for financial literacy, and they introduced me to Nearpod. And there is a free version of it. But what I really like about it is you can even do multiple choice questions. They can answer surveys, anything in there. And then you can share what of that you want to and keep it anonymous if you want to. You can do pre-done slides or videos, any of that in there. I don't know how to work on a phone, but it works perfect on a computer. And I can see where it'd make it really easy for the investigators to see their mental models and things like that, and even ask questions. If they share it publicly, they can share it privately.
So you said Nearpod, NEARPOD?
.com.
Okay, so
I'm still new enough at it that I don't know. I just don't know if to be dangerous, but it looks really cool, and I thought it'd be something worth investigating.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to go watch a video on how to do that.
One thing my nonprofit is doing with staff, and actually it may be something I'm going to use with the Getting Ahead investigators, is Kahoot, where it's like a game, And you can go over curriculum that you've already covered.
Oh, cool.
Kahoot, is that what you said?
Correct.
Awesome. Gonna research that one as well.
I can't activate.
Okay, was that somebody trying to talk to us? I'm not sure. Okay. Any other ideas before we let you go? I know it's almost been an hour, but I think this has been invaluable, and I want to do it again because I've gotten so many ideas today. And after we get into this a few weeks, we're all going to be a little more experienced at this, and I'm anxious to see how the classes that are just starting, that are going to be so different than what we've done before, how they're going to go. And so I want to know how it's going when you guys get started, and what your challenges are, so we can keep sharing our best practices with each other. So
We're going to keep doing Thursday chats like this over Zoom, so please plan to join us. Thank you guys so much for your feedback.
will there be a different topic every Thursday?
You know, next week will be a little bit more on getting ahead, but then yes, we're going to move into, as we come out of this and towards recovery, you know, some times to have conversations around those types of issues as well.
Wonderful. And of course, as always, if you have questions, you can always email them to Lynn, and she can kind of send them out to all of us, and we can all answer through her as well.
Sure.
I think all of us are open to sharing. And so if you have our email addresses, feel free to call, email us. We're open to those ideas. And I can't hang up without plugging Emerge Solutions. If you're not a member of Emerge Solutions, that is an organization that is about idea sharing for people like us. And you can go to emergesolutions.org, Stephen? I think it's .org. Yes, he says. And for $35 a year, we can continue to share, go on our Facebook page, things like that. So there's ways for all of us to communicate. We just need to utilize our resources.
Yeah.
So it's been great seeing all of you. Thank you so much for participating today. I appreciate all of you sharing, and I've learned a lot. So Ruth,
Thank you so
Lynn,
much.
thank you.